Hello, everybody. I've been running around listening to different things in politics, and I'm hearing Obama giving out his same speech over and over again. Same thing he did in 2008. It's actually almost an exact recording. He wants to get rid of the tax for the people who make over $250,000 a year. How much is it going to generate? A billion? $2 billion a year? We got $11 trillion deficit, and he's going after $2 billion. For benefit of doubt, let's give him $5 billion he'll generate through that. Wow, that's a lot of money. But it's going up against a deficit of $11 trillion. Just 1 year. So let's start canceling out a few zeros. Try to bring it down to figures you could imagine. Try $5 billion, if canceled all the zeros down to $5, would bring the $11 trillion down to $11,000. Now, if you divide that $5 into 11,000, it's only going to take us 2,200 years, 10 times as long as this country's existed, to pay off 1 year of the deficit. $11 trillion. That's right. 10 times longer than the country existed. Why am I bringing this up? Because Obama has about as much foresight as the rear end of a donkey. Excuse the expression. There is no foresight. Unless you're pushing a plow and a donkey's pulling it, and then in front of you is the rear end. Okay? Well, we want to go beyond that. There is a lot of people in this country that uses all the benefits that our tax money generates, and they don't pay a penny in taxes. They work, and they work under the table, but they don't pay a penny in taxes. They don't pay Social Security, they don't pay income tax, they don't pay Medicare, they don't pay anything. Most of them you would list as illegal immigrants. And a lot of them use Medicaid, a lot of them has welfare assistance, and a lot of them goes to the hospitals when they're hurt and get treated. I don't want to take any of that away from them. But there is a problem. If they were justly taxed, how many billions upon billions of dollars would that bring in compared to Obama's trickle? But how can we do that? Simple. Get rid of the income tax program totally. You heard me. Get rid of the income tax program totally. Go to a sales tax, consumption tax, whatever you want to call it. It's a sales tax. Everybody will then pay taxes. And here's the wonderful part of it, or the most beautiful part of it all. Everything will be taxed by the sales tax, no exception. And everybody will get a rebate of things that shouldn't be taxed, like food, etc., etc. Now we get to the wonderful part. About every 2-3 months, they'll be sending out a check to everybody, depending on the size of their family, from the government. Boy, it's like getting your income tax back every couple of months, isn't it? But guess who don't get the checks? The illegal aliens. For they must have to register with the IRS to get their checks. These registers must be turned in. If it doesn't have a properly assigned Social Security, these registers must be turned in to the government with the check, and let the government pick the individual up and send them back to their country. Now, of course, they don't have to claim or get their rebate. So that means that then an illegal alien here will be penalized by paying more in taxes. Think about that, people. The aliens who come here legally can get their rebates. But the ones who crawl across the borders, the one who sneaks across the border, every time they buy something, they're not going to get a rebate. They're going to get taxed on everything completely. So they'll be paying more in taxes towards the very items that they are using and straining. Hey, like I said, we have to get beyond our noses. We got to look far into the future. Obama running around yelling, "Oh, tax those who make over $250,000. That bring in some more revenue." Yes, that's the last little box they got left in the current tax system. Then they're going to turn their vicious teeth on everybody. They started this nightmare, and what we're paying right now for is what was happened in the 60s. You might remember during the 60s we were going through the Vietnam War. The reason there's a problem with Social Security is because they took the money from Social Security to pay for the Vietnam War. What we are doing actually right now is paying for the Vietnam War. Nothing is free, people. It's going to come and get you sooner or later. That's why, as president, I will refuse Social Security to be touched. Because it was their hindsight that caused the problems. Congress's hindsight to pay for something we should never have been even involved in the slightest. And yes, I joined the military during the Vietnam era. I joined the Navy. Though I disagreed with the Vietnam War. Because I do believe in the principles of our nation. I do strongly support the Constitution. And that was one of my major goals in life, believe it or not, to have a successful naval career, which I did. Never planned to run for president, and if I'm elected, never planned to be president. But I am a presidential candidate, and our country needs to get back on its founding roots. The roots that our forefathers had set forth. So people, you can go out there and listen to Obama's nickel and dime show. And that's what I'm going to call it, nickel and dime show. It's nothing more than a little dog and pony show, a circus, or whatever you want to call it. Talking about nothing against... The best comparison I could use is if you go outside in the middle of a hurricane, have the wind blowing in your face and you blow back. That's what Obama's doing. He's in an economic hurricane, blowing against it with his $250,000 or more tax. The whole income tax program is incapable of handling the economic problem. There's only one more little box left, and then there's nothing. And what are they going to do? Turn their vicious teeth on us. That's it. It is a positively economical fact. The current income tax program will never be able to handle the deficit that had been built up. They can put spending cap limits, they can cut this back, cut that back. The income tax program won't pay for what is already spent. Even if they tax everything to its limit, until they take over 50% of your pay. Think about that, over 50% of your pay. And it is coming. Unless we put a stop to it. Unless we get the deadbeats paying their taxes, or illegal aliens, or whatever you want to call it, the rich who don't pay taxes, the poor who get assistance. Oh, by the way, anyone who would be on welfare or let's say food stamps and stuff, that rebate check would go to the state in turn to rebate them on the money that they're expending, not go to the individual, because it's not their money they're spending. It is our money they are actually spending. When people get assistance from the state, they aren't spending their money. When they get that food stamps or that food card, they're not spending their money. It's not their money. It's the money that the states get from the other people who pay their taxes and the federal government. So therefore, if you're on federal assistance, that money should go back to the federal assistance to assist in the programs that they have. Because you're not spending your money when you're on federal or state assistance. Okay, so that's another plus with the program. People, you have to decide. Do you want to go with the dog and pony show that Obama continues to prance around the country? Or are we going to take a different path? Are we going to do something different? Are we going to stand up and say, You know, this is a fact. I talked to two people. They were Jehovah's Witnesses, and we were talking about voting and how they don't vote. And I told them how they, by not voting, allows the government. And they said, but we can't choose a side. And I said, that's what's wrong with it. You don't choose a side. Don't choose Republican. Don't choose Democrat. Don't choose a side. And that's what I'm going to tell you people out there. Don't choose a side. Because every time you choose a side, we lose. Doesn't matter which side you choose. We lose. You need to start voting your conscience. What's inside you. What you truly feel is right. And we need to get away from this political nightmare. Oh, and corruption in Congress. You want corruption in Congress to be removed, the first thing you need to remove from the Congress floor is the Republican and Democratic parties. For there is where most, if not all, your corruption lies. They have to be taken off the floor. There is no room in Congress, either the House or the Senate, for either the Republican or Democrat party on the floor. That's it, people. You want to remove the corruption, you got to go after the corrupt. Okay, people, plain bottom line, here it is. This is a tax program more than anything else. You take your thing. What happens when that pennies that Obama goes after doesn't make a dent into the 5 trillion, 11 trillion, I mean. He's going to turn and go after you. And the current tax system can never, ever pay the deficit that had just been run up. We have to go in a different path. Think about that, people. It can be done. We can do it. Not me. We. You people have to start realizing that. Have a nice day. This is JD.